We are at a critical moment in the fight for a livable future. The IPCC report this year calls for crucial changes in the way we live in order to mitigate climate catastrophe. This news can be overwhelming and immobilising, but we can't afford to stand still. In the academic year of 2020 to 2021, I did Shift Bristol's Practical Sustainability course. The course opened up the movement for food sovereignty and regenerative agriculture to me and provided me with a space to find active, critical hope. I found that the embodied and involved element of this movement demonstrated to me ways of actively moving beyond neoliberal logics and instead promoted hope, community, action, care, and nourishment. I felt that this was not just about talk, but action. This podcast aims to explore how Shift cultivates hope and prefigures alternative, more sustainable ways of being and learning. The podcast is made up of a number of conversations with a few of my Shift course mates. We will hear how Shift and the movement for food sovereignty has impacted their lives. I started with the question of hope. Did they feel that Shift had brought them hope? And if so, what sparked that and how did it manifest?
It's definitely given me hope. Shift especially has given me gives you a window into all sorts of different awesome projects and things happening around the Southwest, and it's really inspiring, and it definitely gives me hope that you can do cool things and just make stuff happen.
Absolutely, yes. Having everything to do with agriculture and our food supply, and just seemed very dismal. And absolutely, yes, and possibly as much through the Oxford Farming Conference, but actually seeing that it is possible to grow food in a nature-friendly way, and for it to be economical, because it seemed before I did Shift, it always seemed to be that you could get sustainably made food, but only at a price, and therefore it was only available to a small number of people. But quite clearly, there are ways of changing agricultural techniques. And I'm quite enthused actually by the way that some of the things I've been introduced to, where actually it is possible just to change the way of doing things without having an absolutely good agriculture or an absolutely bad. And the argument that we can only feed people if we use modern agriculture has gone out the window. You can keep soil in the ground to stop it washing off or blowing away. You can increase carbon. You can co-plant things. So you can do things at a big scale that you couldn't. That I would have thought you could only do in a personal allotment or a small scale.
Seeing people doing it, living sustainably, living off the land, making compost, growing food, all that stuff, was so inspiring, and it kind of made me realise that we're probably still screwed, but there's still things you can do, and you can just kind of try stuff. I think that's what it taught me, is you can just give it a go, and try your best. And yeah, I think I have more hope for just knowing that you're part of that network as well, that are going to go and do amazing things.
The network, I feel, for me is one of the most hopeful things about Shift. Do you feel sort of supported by that network?
Yeah, I do. I feel like it's and particularly kind of tapping into events and staying in touch with people from the course and stuff. I feel like I know who to go to if I wanted to start something or ask for advice or get some seeds or whatever it is. Yeah.
Shift introduces you to amazing projects and people within the movement for sustainability. I was interested to know whether my course mates felt similarly, that this had provided them with embodied experiences of alternative ways of being, allowing us to imagine alternatives and take action.
Totally. Yeah, some of my fondest memories are from the Roundhouse builds and going to Strode Valley and places like that. They felt like paradise, you know. You just see these beautiful little market gardens, and I remember where we were building a roundhouse, there was like a gorgeous yurt and this lovely garden, and yeah, it was just like, oh, it's just so dreamy. And I think that's when we really bonded as a group as well, particularly towards the end of the roundhouse and stuff. That felt like a very embodied experience of Shift, I think, you know.
Seeing all the amazing projects and amazing people and communities doing such cool stuff, it gets you thinking about your own ideas and speaking to people about your own, you know, projects, and has certainly encouraged me to be imaginative about what the world could be like.
Yes, completely. And at every level, it's at a personal level, at a local level, and at a national level. And it's been very interesting to have done the course after Brexit and the withdrawal of common agricultural policy, about actually where does our food come from and how do we pay for it, and what can we do for ourselves, what could be grown, and some of the techniques and things some of the things we were introduced to that would work in different places within small spaces, cities, communities, and then maybe big scale is good. There's lots to think about. In fact, the issue is, for me, has been not that you can't do anything, it's more that what can't you do?
There's too much to do. It's definitely kind of got me thinking about what I can do on a personal level and what impact I can have, but then also like trying to imagine what Bristol should be like and could be like, and how does what I do fit into that bigger picture, and then I guess that feeds into the national level, which perhaps as I've maybe learned more about regenerative agriculture, back to question one, as I've learned more about regenerative agriculture and maybe the challenges facing it, while I definitely it does give me hope, and Shift has given me hope, it does feel like an uphill struggle against the global movement towards industrial agriculture and policies that support that, government that supports that.
This uphill struggle is something I definitely feel. As I said in the introduction to this podcast, the world at the moment can feel very paralysing. I see that it's important to understand the gravity of the problems we're facing, but also imagine and long for alternatives in order to create critical hope. Without critical hope and action, we are left in this state of paralysis. I wanted to know whether they felt that Shift's learning model had provided a balance of exploring the issues and imagining alternatives.
I think it tried to. I didn't feel that the stuff we did on peak oil was that in depth, actually. I thought there'd be more of that. But in a way, I was kind of grateful because it was when we were on Zoom in winter. It was all pretty bleak anyway. But in terms of the course, I think, yeah, there wasn't a lot of that kind of, this is where we're heading and that sort of stuff. I didn't feel anyway. I feel like it was quite light touch with that stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, it didn't focus enough on agriculture. We obviously had a huge section on organic horticulture, which was brilliant. But I was particularly interested in Matt Dunwell's stuff and how the organic horticulture and more, you know, there's more to farming than horticulture, but how it all fitted in with everything else. And I can't remember where I was going, but I would have liked to have seen more, only because it's what I'm personally interested in. And perhaps because we didn't get to go on the field visits to various farms, that I feel like I missed out on that kind of aspect. Yeah,
I think one of the limited contact we had with some of the tutors, so Matt Damwell and Jay, who did the water and the composting and the sewage disposal. What was interesting, both of them alluded to the fact that they were being asked to do much bigger projects. And that coincided with comment at the end of the Oxford Regional Farming, the Real Farming Conference, which was held at the same time as the Oxford Farming Conference, deliberately, I think. And initially it was to stir things up a bit, but the closing remarks of the real farming conference were that actually how the attendees of the two conferences actually spent a lot more time together, and how a lot of the what might have been regarded as alternative approaches are well founded and appear to be integrating more with the mainstream. So intensive chicken farmers up the Wye Valley want help in managing huge amounts of pollutants. I just hope that the political level will do something with a new agricultural policy, rather than just giving large landowners in Scotland a huge amount of cash to keep people off their land because it's being rewilded. But from that point of view, actually, I feel a lot more informed and a lot more able to speak up on these things, and take a better informed opinion and voice it.
Reflecting on how Shift has impacted me, I was interested to learn whether my course mates felt changed by their experiences during Shift, whether Shift had developed their worldview and what they saw as important.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's made me realise that I want to be working outside more, and I'm doing that now, which is great. And it's kind of made me reprioritise. I think I kind of was trying to sort of chase this kind of career route before a little bit, and this made me realise that I can actually do lots of different jobs, and I want to be doing some of that outside for sure. So that's really it's been really positive. So yeah, I think it's changed my sort of feelings on what work has to look like.
To a degree, yes, but also almost everyone doing Shift has a very similar worldview anyway. So it's sort of, in certain ways, it's definitely expanded my worldview. But at the same time, further pushed me down into this bubble of hippie, everything's great. No, everything's not great. I don't know what. It's pushed me into this, further down into this bubble that I'm in. One way that comes to mind that it has changed my worldview is around the importance of like the social aspects of what you do and involving people in the community, and with gleaning, for example, it's not just about how much food you save. Now it's definitely more about getting people out onto the land and making connections with people and farms and food projects, and probably more than how much food comes out of it. So yeah, it's definitely changed me.
I think I was really enthused, actually. I feel really privileged to have spent a year being part of a group, which I think I can fairly say most of whom were younger than me. But actually knowing that there's a core of people who aren't signing up for 40-year jobs with a gold watch at the end of it. Having been I've had a very, not easy, but fixed career. But seeing other people who are a group of younger people who are prepared to just go and find out about the world and go and sort it out. That to me was the best thing. It's the enthusiasm, and it's not just the sitting around and talking about it in the pub. It's actually going and doing stuff and getting involved and taking risks, but with a better purpose. I just found that you possibly the most hopeful thing.
My last question came back to consider action. I asked whether they thought that the course's curriculum provided a balance and linking between theory and action.
I think there's something special about Shift, which is more than the whole of the sum of the parts, or whatever the right word is. There are a lot of inspiring individuals, but somehow I suspect most of us weren't very confident about, I think for lots of different reasons, a lot of people weren't very confident, and we were in the middle of a pandemic, and I think that had shaken up a lot of things. But the mutual support and the mutual sharing of knowledge and gaining of knowledge, I think, empowered a lot of us, certainly empowered me. I can't talk for everybody, but actually to say, maybe you've stumbled into this thing for the right reasons, but it is very definitely a good thing to do. And the ideas and things we've been introduced to, I think, are phenomenal.
I think going into Shift, I was involved in a few different things, like the Bristol Bike Project, and I've been volunteering at the community farm, and so perhaps I'd been involved in a few things like that were brilliant projects, and maybe Shift gave me a full appreciation of what these projects actually are doing and how great they are, and yeah, definitely. We learned about some really cool things, and I think at times we probably didn't realize how lucky we were to be being taught by whoever we were being taught by, and there was a lot of good content in there, and I really enjoyed the practical days, and obviously would have loved for more, but COVID didn't really allow that. But the practical sessions are what stick in my mind, and maybe I learn by doing quite a lot, and so but the learning that I have taken from it, has enabled me to kind of be more present and more aware of my surroundings and of the soil under my feet, and taking that into work and farming, and yeah, I mean, without the theory that Shift provided and the practical aspects that it provided, well, I wouldn't have either of them right now.
Yeah, I think despite it being, I'm probably not going to say this very eloquently at all, but despite, the times we were in, we were on Zoom a lot, and it was quite hard, I think, for that kind of course to be online. I think they did it really well, actually, in hindsight. I think it was held really well. And just the breadth of topics that you cover is amazing. I feel like I know a little bit about loads of stuff now that I didn't know before, which is amazing. And it's just given me the confidence to delve deeper into stuff that I'm really interested in, like the herbalism and horticulture and stuff like that. It's been a really great stepping stone into some of those areas.
I think stepping stone is a perfect metaphor for Shift, a starting point to spring from. Our conversations have shown that Shift provides the skills, knowledge, hope, and imagination to move forward and begin to transform our world, whether that transformation happens on a personal, local, or global level. Through networks, connections, and knowledge, we are changed and able to act from a more rooted place of critical hope. Thank you to my fellow Shifties who took part in this recording, and to my brother whose music provides the soundtrack for this conversation. And thank you for listening.